I know what you're thinking, and you're like, gosh darn it, Mr. Heinlein gave me so many I have to do quadratic formula for. And that's on purpose because you guys need to practice that. Okay, so for solving, we just set the factors that we found equal to 0 now. So this first one is going to be x equals -3. The other one, we have x squared minus 3x plus 9 is equal to 0. So here's a quadratic formula one. X is equal to the opposite of b, so -3, plus or minus the square root of b squared is -3 squared minus 4 times a times c, which is 9. All of that divided by 2 times a. And now we have a lot of simplifying. -3 becomes +3, plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 4 times 1 times 9 is -36 over 2. So that's 3 plus or minus the square root of, that's going to be -27 over 2. -27 is I, radical 9, radical 3. So that's going to give us 3 plus or minus 3I radical 3 all over 2. Bam. Done. Alrighty, number 2. Number 2, we have 3x squared plus 2 is equal to 0. We have x minus 1 is equal to 0. And then we have x squared plus x plus 1 is equal to 0. So we subtract 2, we get 3x squared equals -2. Divide by 3, get x squared is equal to -2/3. Square root both sides, you get x is equal to plus or minus I, pull out the negative, square root of 2/3. We're good with just leaving square root of 2/3. No need to mess with that there. Right? Oh, that is not a squared, that is a cubed. Okay, back up. We gotta back up. So this one is actually 3x cubed plus 2. Sorry, I missed the factor. So let's do that one again. We have 3x cubed plus 2 equals 0. Same thing's going to happen here, guys, just your cube rooting at the end. So that's 3x cubed equals -2. X cubed equals -2/3. You cube root. When you cube root a negative, I does not come out. So x is equal to the cube root of -2/3. That's your answer. There's no plus or minus. There's no I. It's just the cube root of -2/3. Add 1 to both sides here. You get x is equal to 1. That one's nice and quick. Here's the one that's not as nice and quick. Doing different colors so it doesn't get sucked into any of this stuff. We'll do it right down here. X is equal to the opposite of b, so -1, plus or minus square root. B squared is going to be 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1. C is also 1. All divided by 2 times 1. So it's -1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 over 2. So that's -1 plus or minus the square root of -3 over 2. So this one becomes -1 plus or minus I radical 3 over 2. And there we go. Number 2 is done. All right, on to number 3. Number 3. 3 you're not going to set equal to anything, so it's just going to stay. 3, you wouldn't do anything there. X minus 2 you set equal to 0. That gives us x equals 2. You set x squared plus 2x plus 4 equal to 0. Okay, this one, completing the square, might go kind of fast here. Should we do it that way because we haven't? Or should I just stick to the quadratic formula? Refresher on completing the square. You cut the middle term in half, and then you square it. So middle term in half is 1, squared is 1. So that's x squared plus 2x plus 1 minus 1 plus 4 is equal to 0. So that's x squared plus, this section right here, you now factor. So that's x plus 1 squared. -1 plus 4 is +3 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides, you get x plus 1 squared is equal to -3. Square root both sides, you get x plus 1 is equal to plus or minus I radical 3 subtract 1 from each side, and you get x is equal to -1 plus or minus I radical 3. So, completing the square, low-key kind of nice in that one. If you did quadratic formula, check your answer with this. Okay, see how they compare. Number 4, just set all these equal to 0. 4x equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. We don't need to write it a second time, but it's good to note that this x equals the 3 counts as 2 of our solutions because there's 2 x minus 3's. So then this one is x equals 0, and we're good. Okay? All right, next up on the chopping block, we have 4 separate terms here. So here we just set each of these equal to 0, x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 1 is equal to 0. Subtract 2, x equals -2. Add 2, x equals +2. Subtract 1, x equals -1. Add 1, x equals +1. Nice and quick. Number 6, set them equal to 0. X squared minus 2 equals 0. X squared minus 7 equals 0. Solving here, we add 2 to both sides. X squared equals 2, square root. As soon as you square root, plus or minus, so x equals plus or minus radical 2. On this other side, you add 7. X squared equals 7, square root. So we get x equals plus or minus radical 7. Crushing it on the solving so far. It's kind of nice that they're all pre-factored. Oh gosh. Why did I do this to myself? Why did I do this to you guys? All right. See how this one says x squared plus 2x plus 4? You see how this one says x squared plus 2x plus 4? We're gonna shorthand this one. Okay. So the answer to this one is x equals 1 plus or minus I radical 3, right? That's what we wrote. -1. -1 plus or minus I radical 3. Sweet. Skipping the quadratic formula there. On the other hand, we have x plus 2, x minus 2. Let's set both of those equal to 0. So that's x equals -2, x equals +2. So there's 2 more answers. All right, let's do this one quadratic formula now. So we have x equals the opposite of b, so -2, plus or minus the square root of. B squared would be -2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 4. All of that divided by 2 times a. Which that is then going to equal 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 times 4 is 16, all over 2. Which is then equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of -12 over 2. -12 is I, radical 4, radical 3. So then this is 2 plus or minus 2I, radical 3 over 2. So then to end this, we have 1 plus or minus I, radical 3. Check it out. Very similar, right? But that makes sense. The only thing that changed was the b value. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 solutions to an x to the 6th power. That's what I'm talking about. All right, number 8. Just got to set them equal to 0, right? X squared minus 3 equals 0. X squared plus 5 equals 0. So that's x squared equals 3. So that's x equals plus or minus radical 3. Nice. That's x squared equals -5, so that's x is equal to plus or minus I radical 5, right? You square root both of these. That's radical 5 and I. That's how we get there. Alrighty, we're flying. We're flying. Number 9. Number 9, we say x plus 2 equal to 0, so that's x equals -2 is one of the solutions. X squared plus 9 is equal to 0. Subtract 9, so x squared equals -9. Square root, so that's x equals plus or minus 3i. And the last one that I made a typo on accident, we have x squared equals 0, 3x minus 10 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. So that's x equals 0. That is going to be x equals 10 over 3, and x equals 1. Boom. Alrighty, on to the word problems, which may have been difficult, and that could be why you're here for the video. So let's check this out. We have x minus 5 and 2x squared plus 8. This is a real-life problem, though. It's asking us what the dimensions of the container are. So we don't care about this factor because it leads to an I. Imaginary numbers don't exist in the real world. So the only answer we care about is x equals 5. So then we take this 5 and we plug it in to our 3 dimensions. So 2 times 5 gives us 10. We have 5 minus 4 gives us 1. And then 5 minus 1 gives us 4. So each of these is feet. And there's our solution. Okay. Same thing's going to happen in this next one. We don't care about the imaginary solution, right? So the two n's we care about are n equals negative 4 and n equals positive 4 coming from these two solutions. And then let's check it out, right? So if we use negative 4, that's going to be negative, because it says what are the integers? That's going to be negative 4 minus 1 times negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 plus 1. So that is negative 5, negative 4, negative 4, negative 3. Does this give us 240? That is the question at hand. We have 20 times 4 is 80. That's positive 20, negative 80, positive 240. So we're good. On the other hand, we could have 4 minus 1. We could have 4. We could have 4, and then we have 4 plus 1. So that's 3, 4, 4, and 5. So what are the integers? The integers are going to be, let's go numerical order, negative 5, negative 4, negative 4, and negative 3. Or they're positive 3, positive 4, positive 4, and positive 5. Right? These are the two solutions. Last one. Don't care about the imaginary solution. All we care about is x equals 3. Plug 3 into our 3 equations that we built. 3 minus 2, 3 minus 1, and 3. Right? So that's going to give us 1, 2, and 3. 1 times 2 times 3 does equal 6. So it's a 1, what is this, inches? Inches. So 1 inch by 2 inch by 3 inch little cube. Okay? So that's this entire worksheet. As always, guys, if you have questions, message me on Canvas. Hope you have a great day.